factor.
What's the freak out factor there? Give us your freak out factor.
What's your freak out factor?
Freak out factor.
Freak out factor.
We still need to do something about that open there. It is, it's excessive. It really is. Let's bring in Anthony Castrovins of MLB.com for his first visit for 2022. You know how this works. I throw out the topics, and then he gives you a scale of where they fall on the freak out factor. Anthony, let's start with Shohei Ohtani. Off to a slow start at the plate on the mound tonight. What's your freak out factor for Shohei Ohtani, the hitter?
We'll put that at a 4 out of 10, Robert. You saw Shohei freaking out a little bit by trying to perform CPR on his pad the other night. And really, this dates back to last year's All-Star break. Remember, at the All-Star game, he did everything except, serve hot dogs. And since that time, before that 273 average 698 slug, since then 222 average 433 slug. So this is not really something. It's too early in the 2022 season, but it's not nothing either because he did start to show some fatigue at the second half of last year. Maybe pitched a little different. But the good news is he's got this other career to fall back on. He's probably never been better as a pitcher when you look at his command. His velocity's up this year, so that's a great sign for Shohei.
Clayton Kershaw pulled from a perfect game. What's your freak-out factor?
Yeah, this is an example of you can understand something and still hate it. So I'll put that at a 9. Now, 9 happens to be the number of seasons we've gone without a perfect game. You remember in 2012, we had 3 perfect games, and everyone's freaking out then that the perfect game was becoming, not rare enough and invaluable, but now it hasn't happened since. So we wanted to see that from Kershaw, even though we had no realistic chance of seeing it. We all know his situation, didn't pick up a ball until January. He himself said it was probably the right move, but it's still tough to see, a guy with 80 pitches come out of a perfect game. I've always, Bob Melvin twice last week, Dave Roberts in the past, Brian Snitker in the World Series last year pulling pitchers with no hitters. That's kind of whatever to me, but pulling a pitcher with a perfect game is just a different animal. It's amazing that Dave Roberts is the only manager to take a pitcher out of a perfect game after 7 perfect innings, and he's done it twice now with Rich Hill and Clayton Kershaw. So totally understand it from a health perspective, but also hate it.
From 9 to 10. 10 is the number of times Met batters have been hit so far this season. What's your freak-out factor on Met hitters getting plunked?
Yeah, 10 times in 7 games, but I'm going to put this at a 0, Robert, because they've won all of those games in which they've been plunked by a pitch. They have 5 wins when they get plunked. They have 2 losses when they don't get plunked. So this is part of their game plan, clearly. It's actually part of their offensive profile. You can look over the last 3 seasons, they've ranked in the top 4 in hit by pitches. So it is, part of their pedigree there. But it is pretty amazing. Going into yesterday, half the teams in baseball had not been plunked more than twice. And yet the Mets now been hit 10 times. But not going to freak out because it's obviously working for them.
Saw them playing against the Philadelphia Phillies. What's your freak-out factor on the Phillies defense right now?
That's a 6. That's how many errors they've committed already and could trend higher very quickly. We knew this was the makeup of this particular club. They were not a very good defensive club to begin with. And then they really took the NLDH seriously in signing the Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber. The left side of their infield, does not rate well defensively. Alec Boehm with 3 errors the other night. And they got a lot of ground ball pitchers in their rotation. So we just don't have many examples of a team with atrocious defense making the playoffs, especially since shifting became so in vogue. You go back to the mid-2010s Tigers, also Dave Dombrowski teams, and last year's Yankees are really outliers in terms of, poor defensive effort, but still reaching the postseason. I got one more freak-out topic for you, Roflo. This is the Sport Coats return to MLB Central gets a 2 out of 10 because 2 is the number of days that the casual Friday vibe lasted on this particular program before you ruined it by borrowing when you borrowed Lauren's jean jacket that brought everything to a crashing halt. So I am wearing a sport coat here with you in sartorial solidarity, my friend.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, people definitely did freak out about it.
You broke the internet.
No, he's smarter than he didn't want the casual look. He went crazy, so the bosses were like, anything but that, and now here we are. He's smart. He's a genius, really.
I like what DeRosa said. It was a tribute to the outsiders, like Pony Boy. He wanted to be Pony Boy or something.
That's right.
We'll do it for Johnny,
Do it for Johnny, man. Do it for Johnny. Anthony, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Enjoy the latest episode of Love is Blind, trash TV, but you definitely take it all in, my man.
What happened to Matt Dillon?
We'll talk about that during the break. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Coming up next,
Everybody is competing on a major.
Mets fans have more things to be annoyed at this year. I want to know. It's a week into the season. They've been hit 10, count them, 10 different times.
Die, mommy.
3 on Wednesday. Buck Showalter, why is it happening?
Well, I've got a pretty good idea why it's happening, but, you know, right, same way it's happening all over for the most part. Especially this time of year.
What's happening more to you guys?
So far. I was thinking today, what does Tampa Bay know that we don't know that they don't get hit by pitches? There's 3 or 4 teams that have none. It's a problem when we lose somebody. You know, Billy and I have made it known.
Buck's smarter than all of us. I never understand what he's saying.
He speaks in riddles.
Right?
Yeah. He speaks in
Is it random? Because it's weird. They're being hit 10 times 1 week into the year.
I'm not in the fight enough to know if there's any bad blood. I mean, we don't know if there's any bad blood between the teams that
But it was different.
Buck Showalter played against in the first couple series. I mean, the 2-seamer up and in on Pete Alonso from the Washington Nationals, complete. I always look at the initial reaction of the pitcher when they release the ball. It's like, Yeah. You know, I just think for him, it's above the belt. It's close to the head multiple times with Francisco Lindor. And you can't, in case you know this, they can't lose one of those big pieces to a broken hand or IL stint. So he's just sending a message like, this ain't going to last for much longer. But I have to say it's coincidence.
I also think, we were talking on MLB Tonight Monday about, I think if you go back to 1987 or whatever, it was 800-some people had been hit. Last year was 2,100 people, right? It's exponentially.
It's a league-wide.
It's a league-wide thing. I really think pitchers nowadays throw harder, don't command the breaking stuff as good, and I think guys that try to come in, they're not pitching well in, and I think it's just a coincidence though that the Mets have been hit so many times. But I also think it's a league-wide problem of guys don't pitch in it that well, and they don't throw the breaking ball as well as they used to.
Let's focus on what happened a couple of nights ago in San Francisco between the Padres and the Giants. The Giants had jumped out to a big lead on San Diego. This is the 6th inning. Mauricio Dubon lays down a bunt, and he gets on. Bob Melvin was incredulous, did not like it. This is Gabe Kapler yesterday prior to Wednesday's game defending his player.
Everybody is competing on a Major League Baseball field. Doesn't make any sense to have one part of the field stop competing and the other part of the field keep competing. I can't think of a reason why that makes sense. Pitcher on the mound is trying to get you out. Batter at the plate stops competing with all of the tools at his disposal. I've never quite understood it. I don't understand it now. And I don't think that the best way to play this game is to take away any of your tools to be successful on a Major League Baseball field.
You're going to be shocked to learn this, but I was never a professional athlete.
No way.
But with that being said, I am far more offended by like 50 other things in the game of baseball than that. I'm more offended by there's like a handful of teams that haven't been trying to win for the last several years. Than some dude laying a bunt down. That's just
I get
me.
it.
But I've never played at this level.
Our guys say different, right?
Yeah.
I completely get that. But you just focus on that play right there.
Right.
You're watching that. Robert Flores, who was not a professional athlete, when he bunted, and you're watching that, your initial reaction is... Your initial reaction is, ugh.
No, my initial reaction, seriously, I was watching, I started laughing.
Don't say you're competing and we're not. I don't like that. I think that's a cop-out. I don't think Gabe Kapler totally believes what he is saying right there.
But wouldn't you say this?
We came up together playing in the minor leagues. I don't want to get into the whole unwritten rule thing. It's 10-1. The Padres are to assume that this game's in the bag. They're hanging on for dear life, and we're just going to play it out, so to speak.
Right.
Okay? So we're going to play our infield back. We're going to give ourselves more chance to make plays. The strike zone's going to open up a little bit more, and we're going to try and get some pace on this game. And in a 10-1 game, Mauricio Dubon with my third baseman, if you rack that back, that third baseman is playing in left field, is going to give you this. I'm not buying you're competing and I'm not.
If you're his manager, though, are you saying that same thing in that moment? To
If
have
I'm
your guys
Mauricio
back?
Dubon's manager, he claimed it came from the dugout.
But are you
If he did that on his own, then I would feel as a manager.
What we're not showing is that
what we're trying
Gabe
to do.
Kapler did have a conversation with Dubon in the dugout after that happened. I don't know what was said, but he
It
did
seemed
have
like
a
he
conversation.
didn't like it. And then
so-
he came back with that sound.
I respect Gabe for obviously sticking up for his player and kind of taking the heat. Here's where it's a little confusing for me, like you were talking about, Roflo. I really feel like old school unwritten rules, that's not okay, right? But I feel like the unwritten rules are starting to get out of the game, like a little bit. Even just like the bat flips and no one cares anymore, punching guys. Some of the unwritten rules are starting to go a little bit. You know what I mean? So
Okay, but if you're playing, even with the bag, protecting against a bunt in a 10-1 game, and he laces one down the line past you, then you're like, well, why am I playing up
I
on
don't
the grass?
I don't agree with it.
But it matters the inning, right? I mean, in the first game of this series, they were
Steven
stealing,
Duggar stole a bag up 10.
and they were up 10.
And I didn't have a problem with it. It was early in the game. It was like, hey, we're gonna
But
put it
to
on
be
you.
fair, Gabe Kapler also said during his news conference yesterday, if teams want to do that to us,
fine.
that's fine.
Right.
I will completely understand.
Case, you're telling me he does that. You're Eric Hosmer. You're not like, hey,
Oh, no.
really, dude?
I'm saying if I'm Hosmer, look at Melvin. You got to respect some of the guys that have been in the game a long time. Melvin's reaction, Hosmer's reaction. I would have reacted like Hosmer, like, bro, you got to clean that up. You can't be bunting 10-1 in the sixth. You know what I mean? And
I just got to knock.
But I mean, is that where the game's going? That's what I'm saying, as far as the unwritten rules go.
Let the kids play.
Yeah. Usually if that happens, then the next guy gets rib shot.
We talk about unwritten rules.
Robert hates it.
One of them he hates it.
He hates it.
One
That's
of
the
them
truth,
is not
though.
to throw the pitch hand trophy on the
That's how you
opponent's
handle it,
mound.
though.
I
right.
want
Like
to hit
Max
you with a rib
Fried did.
shot.
Right. This was after the World Series, and Max Fried winning the first ever World Series pitch hand award, and he's lost 2 straight decisions since then. Now, you guys are trying to say that there's a pitch hand jinx?
Is it the jinx?
That is completely false.
And he got drilled with a line drive yesterday.
Not a
He's going to
jinx.
be fine.
Absolutely not a jinx. He's going to turn it around very, very quickly. So there you go. All right.
You would bunt 10-1.
I definitely would. If I'm looking for an
100%.
You and Shohei would do that. That's awesome, guys.
definitely.
Lauren would not. Yeah. She's old school.
The other unwritten rule on that, though, is you do get drilled. I'm just saying. That's it. That's it.
I'll show up wearing protective armor. Tomorrow is the 75th